G'day guys, Calvin, Cartoon Company in New Zealand. So we've been doing a bit of wiring and a bit of a sort out using a Spitronics ECU. And it's something a bit different to what I would normally do. Spitronics is definitely a very budget orientated ECU coming from our market here in New Zealand. And that is because prices alter very much so around the world. A mate of mine in South Africa had been sort of suggesting that I try one of these out. And I've given it a go, and I've made a series which was meant to be just a little bit of a look over. It's turned into a how-to wire a Spitronics into a truck and set it up. Really? So I thought we'd actually start the whole series with a bit of a brief of what I thought of it, what I found. We've had the truck out, we've been driving, we'll be doing skids in it today. Jace has been having a great time getting paid to drive a truck around the farm to test it out. Tuning. There's the truck that it went into. And hey, it's not the neatest and tidiest truck, but it was perfect for what we were trying to do. For me, I needed a cheap alternative to the standard ECU. The factory ECU was wired poorly, the loom was stuffed, it was really in a bad shape. And the truck all over it has been a bit neglected. So it was trying to get it back to something that was going to be reliable for the young man in the bush when he goes out into the back blocks. It's actually going to start and run like it should. We went through the setup and we put it on the bench. We had a few little hassles. The engine, my new test engine's got a burnt valve, which will be kindly named Joey from this point forward. And the people that know why will understand. I don't think we should name engines after guys' wives, but this is what's happened. And we fitted it into the truck. It took us about a day to set everything up, get it so it's actually in the truck and running and working. It isn't wired to the ignition yet. We still haven't done that bit. But from where we're at, I'm suitably impressed for a cheap ECU. If I was going to compare it to other ECUs, say a modern Link, I wouldn't. They don't compare. However, if I went back to like the early days of the early Links, the Spitronics tune's very similar. There's a few compromises in the tune, but all around, it actually has come up really, really nicely. I didn't quite understand the air temp that was required, so I don't have the air temp in it. And I think air temp correction would make a big difference. The truck starts beautifully. It starts really nice. Idle control, from this point of time, we're reasonably happy. It has the odd tendency to stall. It's set on factory base settings. I haven't adjusted the throttle stop and then brought the stepper modal control down or anything like that. I've just banged it in and it worked. And that's how we've driven it, with the odd tendency to stall every now and again. Tuning, it's smooth, very few flat spots. As I said, the air temp correction would improve the tune. Idle, it's probably a little bit richer than I would get with a later model ECU, but I'm adequately satisfied. It's how we've tuned a lot of cars in the past. Cruise mixture, I was able to get that pretty good, and full noise, I'm happy. It just needs lots of fuel, and I was able to bring it from the base tune of say 11 to 1 to in the 12s, 12.5 to 1, and it makes really good power. Like, it makes good power.
That's good.
It does very good skids in our very good paddock. I'm probably going to get in trouble because of you. I'm going to blame you.
I'm blaming you.
I'm blaming you.
You told me to go.
I did. So the little unit, the little computer itself, oh, that's going to change sounds now I'm in the cabin. Hey, it looks really good. It's nicely made, nice little moulding on the front. I've looked inside. It's all computer soldered inside there, and it looks great. So this one isn't waterproof. The other ones, the Mercury, I believe, are. But for what we're trying to do, it's tucked inside the cabin. it's out of the water anyway. And if we've got water where I've mounted the ECU at this point in time, then we've got much bigger problems. Loom wise, I started with the Spitronics loom, and I've wrapped it in a way that a DIY would do it in just a cloth tape. We've used conduit, so conduit and tape to do the job. I would normally use like a raychem or a braid, cloth braid, but I was trying to duplicate the DIY type wiring style, and I've used PVC up to the injectors, and I'm really happy with the way it's come up. It's as I would expect to match the ECU, though I think if I did a raychem loom and I started from scratch, no loom at all, and I just put my own wires in, I would end up with something about as big as my little finger, and I could make something really, really cool. Trigger wheel, it comes with its own trigger wheel, so we have to change that. So that's important. A couple of the wiring diagrams that I got were incorrect. I showed that and I repaired it, and it was easy to show that in the setup. Software. So I had a couple of problems with software drivers today. And it was because it was on my other laptop. I was able to download it and gain access, and it took me about 8 to 10 minutes to sort that out, get it downloaded, and get access to the computer. So it wasn't too hard. The software took me a little bit to get my head around it. Today I did have to look up where the rev limiter was. It's in turbo, even though there's no turbo. But we found that as well. So all in all, the software is pretty good. It's got a matrix type mode, which I'm used to working with, and a little bit of compromise in the tune, but a little bit of massaging, and we've come up with quite a nice tune, quite adequate, considering, again, that price of that ECU. The truck is a bush truck. It's designed to be off-road. It's designed to be in the mud. As you can see, it's in the mud, and it has to be reliable. I can't comment totally on the reliability of a unit because I've only just installed it. But I'm hoping that it's going to be pretty good. I didn't get any backup from the guys at Spitronics. I did talk to my mate Mark a couple of times to ask a couple of questions. And I did that deliberately so I would go through the process of checking and understanding what's going on. I read the manual for the tuning, and that helped me a lot. So pretty quickly I worked out how to use it and got into it and got it sorted. I have since been contacted by Spitronics because they did find out I was doing a video, and they are going to be doing a deal. But before that point, there was no tie-up between myself and Spitronics. I'm not getting paid to say anything in here, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. With all that said though, I'm suitably impressed. If you would want a top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art, does everything ECU, don't buy this one. However, if you need a good solution, you want your engine to run well, with a simple ECU that's easy to use, and from our money it's very, very cheap, then this is a great option. It's not the only option out there, but it is a great option. And I would certainly choose this over some other cheaper ECUs that are on the market. It's nice, it's worked well. I would definitely recommend the air temp sensor. I think air temp correction would improve it. Mine's wired for that. I've got a little bit of setup to do with idle, but overall I'm really, really happy. And it's driving well, and he's been doing skids in it, and he's been test driving and having a great time this afternoon. Tuning it in this truck, bouncing around the farm, it's not road legal, was tricky, but it's come up really nicely. I'm happy. I'll check the cold start tomorrow, and overall, hey, I think it's a great option for people who want something on the cheap side. And certainly if you're in South Africa, it's a fantastic option because they're local to South Africa. I support my local products here, and if you're in, as I said, if you're in South Africa, hey, fantastic, fantastic option. And there's some great guys over there that know what they're doing with them. ECU uses hyperspace for tuning, and it is actually really easy to get your head around that tune setup. Most tuners, if they're good tuners, can adapt very well to different lots of software. Of course, it does take them some time to get through and find each little bit of that software. But I found this one really, really simple, really easy to work with. Hey, what would I do better on this ECU? If I was wiring it, I'd wire the earths to the back of the block, which is what I've done. That's different to the manual, but I understand why. I think it's done because guys haven't been earthing out their engines properly and it causes problems. So that's the solution they come up with. And we all fight different problems in different markets. I like that it doesn't need external igniters. Though if it needed an igniter change, because it blew one inside that ECU, I might say something a bit differently. The different air temp sensor not being a normal, like an NTC air temp sensor, I don't really like that feature. But all around, I adapted very, very quickly to the ECU, worked out how it went together, wired it, got it set up, and got an engine that runs very, very well. So what's your thoughts, Jace?
My thoughts, not a bad little ECU. It's
Going back to the days of early Link, what do you reckon?
pretty similar.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, dog? Pretty similar.
pretty similar. Hey, we're pretty happy. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. If your expectations are for something that will run the engine nicely and isn't down to the finest, minuscule part of tuning, then this is a fantastic option. I have got the series coming up, so I'm going to release those videos. Hey, if you want to watch them, if you're interested in running one, hey, then get in and watch the series and see what I've done. There's stuff that you're going to learn if you're going to set up an ECU, or if you're setting up a Spitronics, of course. They cross over. The information is the same. The principles are the same. We're going to do some more work on the truck, some other things to do, but overall, hey, it's been a great experience, and I will be using them again. Enough said. Hope that's been helpful for everyone. We'll talk to you again soon. Catch you later.